My name is Ravi, and Pravina and I have Advait, who is a grade 6 student here at DLRC. So I run my own venture. It's called Story Rules, where through which I do training and coaching in storytelling techniques for business professionals. So storytelling in terms of data storytelling techniques, business storytelling techniques for work, for various companies, etc. Right? So that's what I do. My wife runs a children's museum in Pune called Amazium. So we both kind of have our own ventures, and so we have one son, Advait, who's in grade 6. We have a daughter who's too young, but once she comes of age, she'll also be joining us. Yeah, so I mean, it's interesting. I mean, our son was in a typical standard ICSE school, and it was fine. It was very tough, by the way, to get admission into that. So I remember Pravina had, there was some not a lottery, but some sort of a timing before which you had to quickly submit a form, and she was very good and quick with that, and she made sure in junior KG we got it, and we were like, okay, now till 10th sorted, right? That was the typical thinking. And while he was there in that school, we get to meet some students. We come to know there's this, different unique school called DLRC. It's based in a small farm, and it uses a very different ethos of learning and teaching, and it was always there in the back of the mind, but we never thought, it felt like too much of a leap, and we said, no, this is all probably not. And so this is fine, life is going on and stuff. And in addition to that, of course, since Pravina runs Amazium, which is into science and art, etc., so she was in touch with Pawan and with various other folks from DLRC, and trying to do common programs. I remember Shivaji sir would run programs in Amazium, right? So I think that those connects were there, but nothing beyond that. So then how did the move happen? I think the pandemic was one of the key catalysts for the move, because it was during the pandemic that obviously schools started happening at home, and we would actually see how children are being taught. And I think this was about June, July, August 2020, when we are seeing what kind of teaching is done, what kind of homework is being given, and so on. And we realized, oh, this is not how we thought our child is learning. This is how we learned when we were in school back in the 80s and 90s. And there's a lot of rote learning, there's a lot of, write all these sums and, repeat this and copy this and all of that. And we felt, why are they not testing and stretching their imagination, their creativity, their ability? So that is when we said, I think we should look at DLRC more seriously. And then that began a fair long period of, discovery and speaking to a lot of people that finally culminated in Advait joining there, and happy to talk about that in more detail. Yeah, so the journey has been great, really, so far, Pawan. And if I kind of look back and the last, it's about 2.5, 3 years, at what are the most striking things that I find about DLRC, I would start with the founders and that intent, right? Because it's something that it's very basic, and we assume that every school leader, school founder should have that clear intent on saying that, hey, this is for teaching, and this is for making sure that our kids grow up with the right values, with the right abilities, the right culture, etc. But in a lot of schools, unfortunately, that intent somewhere goes missing because of too many things that come in the way. And I think that is there here, right? And with the right intent, sometimes there will be things which are challenging. You may not get the right kind of teacher for a particular subject in a particular class. There might be some infra issues. I think all of those are fine, and we'll solve for it together. But I think that is the foundational thing. And if you show the right intent, then you will get others to join you in that journey, right? And I've seen that time and again, that the teachers who come here are driven by that sense of purpose, by that sense of passion, and it's not just another job for them, right? And there's like so many teachers that I can name across subjects who are able to get the students really interested in that subject, because they themselves are like passionately feel and care for that subject. I think so that's number one for me. The other thing is, teaching is important here, and the care that goes into making teaching interesting, maybe making subjects interesting, and yet maintaining that structure that I mentioned about. I think that is also something that comes through, and probably driven from the from persona and his ethos. So which is great. I think that really is something that I value a lot. The place itself, it's so beautiful, and I don't know whether the kids, when they are studying here, will realize how special of a place that they have, been in. I'm sure when they look back, when they are in whatever 12th and later in college, they'll be like, oh my god, we studied in such a magical place. Not every place is like that, right? There's a lot of concrete around in the world. So I think this is beautiful. So all of those ingredients are, I think, there. Um, Another striking thing for about DLSC that I really admire is it's not a project just by Ajay, Pavan, Mona, and the teachers, right? It's a community project. It is actually a community project, and the school actively solicits inputs and efforts from the community, and it accepts it when people volunteer. To take that decision with wide open eyes and be clear that this is the right one for you. Like every school, DLRC has its philosophy, has its way of teaching, has its things that it may not you may not find some things which you may typically find in a big school. So you have to be okay with the rough and the smooth, and I would say please talk to as many existing parents as you can. Apart from, of course, attend the open day and talk to the founders, talk to the teachers who you can, but talk to existing parents, typically of the similar age as your child, and possibly also get your child to talk to his or her peers, right? So that he also gets a sense of what is the kind of the life here, and you might find some things which are different, some things which are better, some things which are not as good as the current school. So at least come with that expectation that hey, this is not going to have this, but it'll have this. At the same time, don't have this thing that before my child enrolls, I need to know everything in full 100% clarity. That would also happen. So be prepared for, as the journey unfolds, and you'll have something which will surprise you. Something you'll be like, oh, I don't think this is what I expected. But the good thing, as I mentioned earlier, is that the school listens. So share your feedback, and if it is something that is shared by many parents, hopefully that is something that will get addressed. So I think that number one is talk to as many parents as you can, only once you're like fairly certain that this is the path that I want to go, then you should make that leap. I love the new feel in the amphitheater, the new classrooms. I think basically the new physical elements that have been added. I think already the campus was really beautiful, but it just adds more to the touch. So that is great. A lot of the new things in the sense, because a lot of the things that were great are being continued. So I think that is great in terms of the way things are being taught, the way. I think that the Advait is very kicked about the new football ground that is coming next door. So for kids, sports matters, right? I think so that's also nice. So these are the things for me which are new, which I really like. But otherwise, from whatever was existing, which is great, and I think that's continuing. So yeah, that's. Yeah, I think this is a pet peeve I have with schools in general, not DLRC as such. That, in fact, the earlier school it was even higher. That if you kind of rank after academics, various other things, in most schools, number one will be sports, 2 sports, 3 sports, 4 sports, 5 sports, 10 tak sports, maybe then some drama, music, and then somewhere in 20 or 100 will be literary activities, right? So, great stuff. Good to know all of this. So I was probably coming from the experience of doing the literary festival, right? And when I was trying to reflect on what could be better, it was great. I think the participation was wonderful. The guests that we got were fabulous. The reception that they got here was amazing. So all of those were great ticks, right? And I think it was a very memorable event. What I felt generally could be better was especially higher grades, 7, 8, 9 and above. I wanted to see better ability and better willingness mainly from the students' point of view, to participate. Now I talk about ability first, right? In a lot of situations, I would like, for example, I was talking extempore about a topic. Like children would come, pick it up and say, no, I can't talk. No, this is beyond me. right? And in today's day and age, you expect them to be more this, right? So I think just public speaking, and that's a key part of literary thing for me. And so you create something, but you also should be able to talk about it, structuring your thoughts on the fly, debating, and all of those. There are ways and means to do it with an audience, because then that gives people a boost. So just like sports gives you that ego boost that I in front of an audience I won something. I think that same thing can be possibly done for literary events also. So that's what I was coming out with, that people should be asking for these events. Okay, I want a quarterly quiz, or I want a weekly quiz circle, I want a debate circle, I want something where I can talk about topics every year, and I need an audience for that, and let's organize it, let's build it together. It need not be in person, it can be virtual. 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, they can easily do it on their own. So then they would start realizing, hey, I was not able to express my ideas clearly. Who are the people that can help me with this? Let's call Ravishanker and we can teach us this. So it has to come from them. I can't say, okay, I'm going to teach you how to speak better. I do that for a living, but do you want to learn it? Is a question I'm going to ask the senior people. So that's where I
like to
so many. That
more
is
time
a
for
big, not worry or stress, but regret for me that with limited time, I've not been able to attend even one trek with Ajay. I have not been able to come for. I feel terrible that Namita ma'am and Prashant, when they do these Hindi literary circles, somehow the other, some relative is coming, somewhere we are going out, and so there is so much activity happening here. Oh my God, it's crazy. For somebody who's got the inclination to forget, contribute, just participate, I think there's so much. So I think that's a big regret that I have, that I'm not able to give as much time. And so I also realize that sometimes work also kind of goes up and down, right? So there's been a kind of busy period at work for me. But whenever time is there, then I think that ability to contribute is great. But lots of things that unfortunately I'm missing. Significance of an institution like DLRC, and I don't know whether that's the right way to put it, but to me it's about the fact that teaching kids is a very noble profession, right? And since millennia, when you've got people living in caves and later agriculture and whatever, the easier thing to do is to go and become a merchant, go and work in the army, or get into politics, or do whatever else, right? And that's going out into the world. But then there are some group who decide no, but we need to make the next generation ready for all those interesting tasks and activities and roles, and so they said no, we will stay with the community and we will prepare the next generation, right? And so that I really find that people who are willing to do that is, of course, they're not doing it as a thing that I'll sacrifice and do this. They're doing it because they genuinely enjoy it, which is great. But for a lot of us, I think it's a wonderful thing that they are doing, because in a way, parents should be teaching. Every parent should be teaching their own child, right? Which is why the homeschooling movement is so powerful. That where I am probably the best person to teach my child and so on. But for multiple reasons, one, I'm not probably a great teacher when it comes to small children. Two, it can get boring, right? For parents especially, we want to go out and have our fun, right? And so when somebody in a community who's really good from an ability point of view says, no, I'll do it, right? Entrust your kids with me and I'll do it. It's great. I think, people like us should be grateful to those people who are willing to do that, to leave aside, to be very blunt about it, to leave aside possibly lucrative corporate careers and then say, no, we will not do that, but we will sit and do this, which may not financially be the best that we can do in our life, but probably from a fulfillment point of view, from an impact point of view, will be tremendous, right? So I think that is something that I really hold the founding team and the entire DLRC team in very high regard for, that you guys are doing something super noble, and it's almost like there's this old thing ना कि DLRC तुम आगे बढ़ो हम तुम्हारे साथ हैं, right? you go ahead, you do this, and please use us for whatever help you can, because in a way you are taking on our responsibility, right? We are partly responsible for this, and us just paying the fees is nothing, right? Both of, like, come on, that's so. But you should actually demand more from us, from all the parents, and in terms of, whoever can contribute in whatever way, because this is actually a community project. This is a project. It takes a village to raise a child, they say, right? So we need to kind of put in our best effort to make sure that all of us are able to give the best future to our kids, and I'm glad that somebody like DLRC is leading the way for